Hello and welcome to Planet Pulse on Firstpost. The Earth is constantly changing, and in recent years, for the worse. Summers are getting hotter and winters harsher. Rising sea levels, floods, drought, wildfires, and torrential rain have been disrupting lives across continents. The fight against climate change is needed now more than ever. On this show, we bring you all the top stories on the climate crisis, its causes, its brutal effects, and the warriors helping to fight the menace. Scenes of devastation unfolded across North India this week. Floods swallowed entire towns. Landslides buried pilgrims. Highways were torn apart by raging rivers, from the sacred hills of Vaishno, Devi, to the tourist lanes of Manali, and to farms in Punjab. Relief teams battle rising waters as terrified families cling to rooftops and rescue boats. Our report brings you the terrifying scale of destruction that engulfed vast stretches of North India.
Streets swallowed by water. Bridges collapsed into roaring rivers. Homes, shops, and highways reduced to rubble. Heavy rains, cloudbursts, floods, and landslides wreaked havoc in North India this week. From the shrine town of Vaishno Devi to the tourist streets of Manali, the fury of the skies had rewritten the landscape. At least 34 pilgrims lost their lives when a landslide thundered down the Vaishno Devi route in Jammu's Rasi district. The yatra was suspended. Rescue teams dug through mounds of debris where once stood rest shelters and food stalls, and grieving families waited in silence. Elsewhere in Doda, a cloudburst ripped through villages, killing 4 and sweeping away homes. In Jammu, cars floated in torrents where highways once stretched. Terrifying images of vehicles tumbling off the Madhopur bridge surfaced as it gave way under the current's might. In Himachal's Manali, the Beas River had roared into the town itself. Multi-story buildings crumbled into the floodwaters. Shops vanished in seconds. A mini truck was seen slowly sliding before disappearing into the brown surge. The horrifying story also repeated in Punjab. The Ravi River overflowed and breached its banks in Amritsar district. Entire areas near Ajinala, along the riverbanks, were submerged. The Indian Army undertook a high-risk helicopter rescue in the flood-hit region, evacuating 3 civilians and 22 CRPF personnel from a building surrounded by raging waters. In the national capital, New Delhi, and the NCR region, skies turned gray. An orange alert flashed across the city, accompanied by lightning and gusty winds. Traffic crawled while airlines warned of delays. Climate change had blurred the line between natural monsoon and human-fueled disaster. This was not just rain. It was the story of a Himalayan belt under siege. Rainfall records were shattered in decades. Rivers once worshipped now raged with untamable fury. And villages that had stood for centuries were wiped out in hours. Even though relief camps multiplied, but nature's scale dwarfed human effort. The skies refused to relent, and forecasts warned of more downpours. This was what climate change looked like. Rivers rose beyond control. Hills crumbled without warning. Cities gasped under floodwater. And lives, ordinary lives, were swept away in the blink of an eye. The visuals from North India were not just of floods. They were of a region in despair, and a future that grew darker with every storm.
The skies are orange, the air is heavy, and entire communities stand on edge. This is the face of the wildfire crisis in parts of the United States. From the Pickett fire burning through Napa Valley to the Gifford mega fire raging across California, the scale of destruction is alarming. Fire crews are battling around the clock, yet containment remains low. This latest blaze is a reminder that wildfires have become a deadly summer ritual in the state.
In the middle of a relentless heat wave, California continues to face new fires erupting week after week. The latest fire to draw headlines is the Pickett fire in California's Napa County. Igniting on August 21st, it quickly grew into a fast-moving inferno. As of Thursday, August 28, it had burned over 6,800 acres and was just 37% contained. Meanwhile, the Gifford fire, labelled a mega fire in official briefings, ripped through more than 131,000 acres. Thanks to days of relentless efforts, crews had managed to get it about 95% contained. For residents, the scenes are devastating. Homes surrounded by walls of flames. Aircraft dropping bright red retardant over vineyards and forests. Highways choked with evacuees escaping the burning hillsides. And thick smoke blankets entire cities, turning day into a twilight haze. Beyond Pickett and Gifford, California continues to battle multiple large wildfires. The Garnet Fire in Fresno County spreading across nearly 9,200 acres with no containment. The Dillon Fire near the border of Oregon grew into over 1,200 acres and remained uncontained. And in the Trinity Alps, the Peak Fire scorched approximately 200 acres with zero containment. Add to that the Canyon Fire near Los Angeles, which surged from a small brush fire into an inferno, burned nearly 5,000 acres. But as of August 27th, officials said it was fully contained, allowing many evacuated families to begin returning home. As relentless flames consume nature, we are also witnessing the collapse of infrastructure. Homes, roads, and power lines crumbling, while thousands are forced to abandon the place they love most, their homes. In Napa, more than 1,200 firefighters, engines and helicopters were deployed to battle the Pickett fire. Over 150 residents have already been evacuated, with hundreds more under evacuation warnings. Near Los Angeles, the Canyon Fire drove about 4,200 people to flee, as nearly 1,000 crew members and dozens of engines fought to contain the blaze. Wineries, schools, and small businesses now face an uncertain future, while families from rural communities have seen their homes reduced to ash. Science is clear. Climate change is lengthening California's fire seasons and intensifying their threat. Research shows fire season starts up to 46 days earlier today than 3 decades ago, especially in mountainous regions. How quickly grasses and trees lose moisture is now driven more by climate than vegetation types. Human causes like fossil fuel burning are contributing hotter, drier, windier conditions, making fire weather more frequent. Research also shows that from 1992 to 2020, human-caused climate change was behind nearly 2/3 of all fire pollution and smoke in the western United States. This is far from unique to California. Across southern Europe, over 1 million hectares have already burned this summer. Spain, Portugal, and France are seeing their worst fire seasons in years. Fire, smoke, flood, heat, seasons we knew are shifting. The Earth is waking up to extremes. What was once wildfire season is now wildfire era. Floods follow burns. Storms meet ashes. Are we ready for a world where the seasons are not gentle but relentless? When will we adapt before nature writes the next chapter?
Summer holidays in Europe are turning into something very different from the glossy brochures. Record heat waves, raging wildfires, and soaring costs are leaving once idyllic escapes looking more like climate disaster zones. Experts now warn that the age of carefree, cheap mass tourism may be drawing to a close. And the question is whether the holiday abroad can even survive in a warming world. Here's our report.
How does a dreamy Europe summer vacation look like? Sunbeds on Greek beaches, gondolas in Venice, ski slopes in the Alps. But as Europe battles sweltering heat waves, raging wildfires, and spiraling travel costs, the popular getaway is beginning to look less like a carefree escape and more like an endurance test. This summer alone, record-breaking temperatures scorched the continent. France endured its worst wildfires in more than 70 years, with flames ripping through vineyards and villages. In Greece, tourists were evacuated from islands, and in the Alps, the snow that once guaranteed vibrant ski seasons is vanishing at an alarming rate. Even Europe's landmarks weren't spared. The Eiffel Tower and the Acropolis were forced to close during heat waves. While tourists across Madrid, Athens, and Rome abandoned sunny plazas for underground catacombs and museums. In sweltering cities, restaurant bookings shifted later into the night when the streets finally cooled enough to breathe.
We knew before we left it was going to be very hot. We left a heat wave in Quebec to come and live through another heat wave in France. But we had a few days beforehand when we were able to do some other things, on the River Seine in particular. But since yesterday it's harder, it's really harder. We're looking for fresh air. So we're going to the museums, we're looking to cool down.
But beyond the immediate discomfort lies a deeper economic trend. Tourism is a lifeline for Europe, pumping billions into its economy each year. Now, climate extremes are rewriting the industry's balance sheet. For example, evacuations from fires, spiraling insurance costs for hotels and airlines, and rising food prices from disrupted harvests like coffee, chocolate, and olive oil. What was once a dream family holiday destination may soon become a luxury few can justify.
I am sure that it's because of the climate change. What I am seeing is that everyone wants to live in buildings with air conditioning, and the exhaust of those air cons heat the streets even more. There is also too much concrete. Most of the city is covered with concrete. There is little nature, and that makes it harder to be able to stay outside during a heat wave.
Experts warn the shift is only beginning. Some say that 80 years ago, mass tourism started in Europe, but 80 years from now, they doubt much tourism will be left. South Aegean islands, including Rhodes, Kos, and Mykonos, are the continent's most critical hotspots, where dependence on tourism collides directly with climate risks. Corfu and the Ionian Islands follow close behind. At the moment, these crises seem seasonal and localized. A wildfire here, a drought there. But experts argue the future will be different. Disruptions will spread, repeat more frequently, and push whole destinations off the tourism map.
We usually rely on snow, but there is no escaping the fact that snow is now likely to fall in accumulated altitudes above 2,000 to 2,500 meters, 6,500 to 8,200 feet. And our mountains are simply not that high. In Bielashnica, for example, every winter we are unsure there will be enough snow or not for snow sports.
Europe, the world's fastest warming continent, sits at the crossroads of this reckoning. Southern hotspots like Greece, Spain, and Portugal are increasingly vulnerable. Northern regions may absorb some of the shift, but higher travel costs and growing climate volatility could mean fewer people traveling at all. For now, the crowds still pack airports and beaches, eager to squeeze in their week of sun. Yet beneath the surface, the age of mass, affordable, climate-blind tourism is cracking. The question is no longer whether climate change will reshape the way we travel, but how soon it will end the holiday as we know it.
And that's it on Planet Pulse for today. We will see you again next week at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to First Post.